The 2022 Audi S3. We are brand new here for the 8Y generation, at least here in the States. As always, let's take a look at this thing from the outside, from the inside, and from behind the wheel. So first off, if you're looking at the Audi lineup, what the heck does S3 even mean? Well, the A sedans, you've got A3 through A8, kind of corresponds to the size, basically, roughly. And you've got sedans, sportbacks, wagons, that kind of thing. And then if you do an S, then you get the sportier version. If you do an RS, then you get the all-out kind of monster version. So this is an A3 with some added sportiness, bigger engine, sport-tuned suspension, things like that. Think of it as your step up from a GLI. So you've got the regular Jetta, it's your compact Volkswagen on the MQB platform. This one is your sporty version of that with some luxury. So your A3 gets some sportiness, gets a bigger engine. So we're still looking at a 4-cylinder with a turbo, 306 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. And we are all-wheel drive, though. The A3 does come in a front-wheel drive version. This one's got the Quattro logo. That means that it is in an all-wheel drive version, and that's the only way you can get the S3, which is great because that helps for performance, helps for traction. If you want the sedan in the winter, not a lot of compact all-wheel drive sedans out there. Definitely a solid option here. So that engine I mentioned, we've got paired to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which will be familiar if you're familiar with the Golf R, the GTI, the GLI. You cannot get the manual option. Those have a manual option. This one does not. But this one is a touch more luxury to it. And the transmission does shift nice and quick, but these flappy paddles here, I'm glad we have them. I wish they were a little bit nicer, especially in a luxury car, especially when you're talking about people coming up from GTIs and GLIs and moving up into something like this. I know a lot of them use the paddle shifters. So it'd be nice if they were a little nicer. It would be nice if they were a little quicker as well. The transmission does shift nice and quickly when it's doing its own shifting. When you hit the paddles, it does take a second before it kicks in. A little bit frustrating. Wish those worked a little bit better. But if you leave it in automatic mode, then it'll do its thing. If you don't like the way it shifts, pop it into sport mode. It'll ring out a little bit longer. Pop it into drive mode. It'll try to go for efficiency a little bit more. So we actually have a few different options when it comes to driving modes. So this one does have the adaptive suspension, or the adjustable suspension. You can set it to whether you want a stiff ride, a balanced ride, or a softer ride. And you can also adjust the engine noise. And you can adjust the steering. And then if you want to adjust the shift points the way it's shifting, then that's actually done down here. The rest is done through the infotainment. If you want to go from drive to sport mode and you use the transmission, you pop that into S. And if you're in, a quick note about the paddle shifters and when you're driving in the different modes, if you're in drive mode, the regular D driving mode, and you use the paddle shifters and you leave them alone for a couple seconds, it'll pop back into automatic mode. If you are in sport mode, it won't do that. It won't pop it back into drive mode. It will just let you keep going in manual mode. Now it is nice and quick. In about 3,500 pounds, got lots of power, lots of torque, plenty to get this thing going. If you're in drive mode, gets you there nice and smoothly. In sport mode, gets you there very quickly. We do have a turbo. We do have a little bit of turbo lag, so you've got a little bit of weight, and then that big kick happens all at once. And if you want a nice, soft, comfortable ride, like I mentioned, we've got the driving modes. In comfort mode, feels like luxury. You've got a luxury car here, a nice, soft ride. The noise is, there's a little bit of outside noise going on, some road noise, not too bad. And if you want a stiff ride and you want to kind of throw it through corners a little bit, you can certainly do that as well. does have a little bit of lean to it, but not too bad. If you throw it really hard into a corner, you'll get a decent amount of lean. But because we have that all-wheel drive system, you never feel like the tires are losing grip. You feel like you're sticky to the ground, and we're on summers, so that helps too. But even when the body is leaning a little bit out there, you feel really confident through the corners, nice and sticky. So this one, like I mentioned, we do have summers. Comes standard on 18-inch summers, which are run flats actually. And you can option all seasons for no cost if you'd like, or if you get the wheels that we have on this one actually has the 19, so we've got bigger wheels, sacrificing a little ride quality for a little bit of sportiness, and the summers add that stickiness. So really, definitely a fun car to throw through corners. I was actually throwing this through some corners last night, having a lot of fun with that. The visibility, these lights are very good at nighttime. Nice wide band of visibility. The windows as well, visibility out the front and back are good as well. Nice big window here, thin pillars, B pillars not too bad, no huge blind spots, and we've got blind spot monitoring as well, which will help us out, and rear cross traffic alert, as well as pre-collision warning. But the visibility out the back window is a little bit on the smaller side. It is a small sedan, it's a compact sedan. And this mirror seems like it's a little bit small. I wish it was just a little bit wider. It's like exactly the right width for the back window. I wish it was just a little bit wider, but the visibility out the back is pretty solid. Steering wheel is nice and beefy, and it does have some good weight to it. I really like the way it feels when you turn the wheel. It does have some good weight, but in typical kind of Audi VW fashion, it doesn't really communicate super well with the wheels, but at least it's got some weight to it. And of course, with all the power we've got here, you want good braking power, especially if you're going to drive this thing hard, or if you're obviously in emergency situations. And the brakes are really actually very good. I've been in a few cars lately where the brakes were a little bit soft, so it's nice to be in a car that has some really good brakes to it. A couple of the random notes about driving: there's been like a little beep that I get every once in a while. Not really sure what that's about. No real indication of what it actually means. And we've got the auto start stop on this one. A lot of people complain about that, but it's been pretty seamless. Usually cars say like when it kicks in, when the auto start stop kicks in, it'll give you a little icon. This one, there hasn't been any kind of icon, but I can disable it down here with one of these millions of buttons that I love. But it seems pretty seamless. There's no spark up, and it's already pretty quiet when you're stopped anyway. The best thing about this car is from the driver's position, everything, I really like how everything is laid out as the driver in this car. The infotainment is kind of tilted towards me and up. The steering wheel here is nice and beefy. I like this big beefy steering wheel. The volume is just a scroll wheel, which is perfect. And we've got a few other options here on the steering wheel that we'll talk about. And we've got the virtual cockpit in this one, which has a ton of information on it, but it's not cluttered. It's crystal clear. It's very easy to read the information. And there's even like a simplified mode that we'll get into a little bit later. But I really like the way this is all laid out, and everything here is buttons and switches, so there's no digging through the infotainment for things that you need while you're driving. Everything is there, everything's readily available, which is good because the infotainment is a little bit laggy. It's very clear. I like the buttons and everything, the icons and everything, and the way it looks, but it's a little bit laggy. But everything else works really well with these nice solid buttons. Other than the volume, it's a little bit strange. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But the volume on the steering wheel is the way to go anyway. The scroll wheel is perfect. I wish they would put the scroll wheel in every car. The few things that I don't like from this driving position are, I like to sit low and kind of close, and the steering wheel, when I have the steering wheel in a comfortable position, it blocks the top part of this virtual cockpit. That's obviously going to vary depending on your height and your seating position, but for me, I wish that I could see a little bit more here. And then the cruise control is like this lever that you can move in a million different ways, and it's got some switches on it, and that's kind of hard to see behind the big beefy steering wheel. I like that the steering wheel is beefy, but behind these buttons here, it's hard to kind of see how the cruise control, what the cruise control options are. That's something, if you use cruise control often, you'll get used to, sure, but if you're just using it here and there on road trips, then you're going to have to relearn the positioning of everything over and over again, which is a little bit annoying. And the seats themselves are super comfortable. This one does have the upgraded Napa leather in it. The bolsters are like not super aggressive. They're there, but they're not super aggressive, so they're not digging into me in a nice comfortable position, give me a little bit of wiggle room. We've got thigh extensions, we've got heated seats, perfectly comfortable. Again, comfortable position, love the steering wheel, nice seats, nice visibility, and easy access to everything. And these vents, actually, these vents are in a really nice spot as well, right on my face, right for the driver. So there's a lot of driver focus going on here, which I really, really like. So if that's something you're into, definitely check this one out. But let's get into the interior, exterior, see what else we got. I love the look of this interior. Simple, elegant, black and gray with soft touch points, vents, infotainment. I'll mention the steering wheel again, all driver focused. I absolutely don't love the gloss black and the fact that it's in this wide swath here next to the little lever nub. Carbon fiber, aluminum, pretty much anything else I would have preferred. It also seems like a lot of wasted space, and the volume control is a strange choice. It's touch sensitive. You swipe around the edge to raise and lower the volume. Not my favorite choice, but it does actually work surprisingly well. But as the driver, I'm scrolling on the steering wheel anyway. The infotainment is clear and easy to use with nice big icons, but it is a little bit laggy. Apple CarPlay is wireless as it was before, and thankfully Android Auto now is as well. When it works very well. It connects very quickly, but when it doesn't connect, it can be tough to figure out how to get it to work again. That could be the car, or it could be my phone connection, so it's a little tough to judge. But the music playing through the infotainment system is coming through the optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. With a name like Audi, you certainly want the audio to be good. The sound system is one of the best I've experienced in a car so far. The virtual cockpit in the upper two trims is very clear and contains a lot of information without being too cluttered. If you do find it too cluttered, you can switch to a minimalistic mode. You have two main layouts and a few options for the adjustable section. The beefy steering wheel contains a few buttons and rollers for adjusting the virtual cockpit and the volume, as well as a customizable button. I love this idea of the customizable button, but I don't love the options, other than maybe the garage door option, so that's probably what I'd set mine to, especially since I haven't found a better spot for my garage door opener in this cabin. There is a small compartment to the left of the wheel if you're looking for a little extra storage space though. You have the upgraded Napa leather as opposed to the standard synthetic leather. Heated seats, thigh extensions, adjustable lumbar support could be a little more aggressive, but overall comfortable seating. These are memory seats as well. The back seats see about 35 inches of legroom, as this is the smallest of the Audi sedans. I fit just fine because I fit in everything at 5'7", but rear-facing seats will force your passenger uncomfortably far forward, and forward-facing seats will be tight but doable. Save the back seats for show or for kids or smaller adults. The exterior has a great look to it, especially in Tango Red with lots of black trim. We've got the optional 19-inch rims with Summers here. This is a great look, especially with the optional red calipers in it, and the black auto folding mirrors with blind spot monitoring built in add to the contrast. A nice big sunroof lets lots of light in and otherwise disguises itself well as a black roof. The front grille looks great, but there is a lot of blocked off venting here for some reason, and on the side we can see some real vents here with the intercooler poking through, while the other side is solely there for symmetry. Very good matrix LEDs for excellent nighttime visibility. The rear end continues with the black and red, more fake venting, but the coloring does look nice. Quad exhaust tips since we're in the sporty version of this sedan, and inside the trunk we're looking at a very small 8.3 cubic feet of space. That's actually smaller than the A3, along with a 40-20-40 split on the seats. Whether you're looking to upgrade from your GLI or you just want a nice comfortable sedan that can handle both the boring commute and fun weekend drives, this one can certainly handle your needs, from one of my favorite driver-focused cockpits to the excellent sound system to the punchy powertrain. Entry-level luxury meets performance in a very good way.